Well, hey there, Pantherland, and happy middle of September. It feels like the time is just flying here at Dudley High School. I hope that all of you have had a great weekend. I hope that you are starting to feel that you're kind of getting into the swing of things, kind of getting into the groove a little bit. I think that it's just about this time of the year that we start feeling like we're getting our teaching legs underneath us. You know what I mean? But this week, everybody, what I wanted to do for my weekly video is I wanted to talk a little bit about assessment because I know that we are all doing assessments. I know that for some of us, we're doing our district assessments. We're getting started with benchmarks pretty soon. And today, everybody, what I wanted to talk about was the idea of a balanced assessment approach, right? So when we have a balanced assessment approach, basically what that says is that we have a variety of types of assessments that are preparing the students and showing the students what they're doing and how they're learning and how they're moving through. Okay. Now we want to make sure that we're doing more than just having formatives and summatives, right? When we're doing a balanced assessment approach, we can have diagnostics, we can have formatives, we can have benchmark testing, and we can have summative assignments. And we can also have different types of formative assessments, and we'll talk about those in just a few moments, right? But if we have this fuller picture of student learning to include a fuller range of assessments, we're really going to kind of understand more perspectives and we're going to get more data to help us better meet the needs of the students that we have in front of us, right? One of the ways that we can get some of that data in a really great way, everybody, is by including student reflections. Student reflections can actually be a really great means of formative assessment in your classroom because student reflections are asking the student to sort of reflect on the work that they're doing and to sort of explain maybe their process, to have them explain what they're doing, to have them explain how they feel about what they're doing, how prepared they feel about what they're doing. And those reflection answers can really provide you, as the instructor, a lot of great data to then put the student perhaps into a grouping, or perhaps give the student further interventions, or perhaps to accelerate the student forward into their learning journey. If they feel like things are moving well and you've got the data to prove it, well, let's get it moving faster, right? Sometimes we may actually want to grade the reflection over grading the actual task that the students have completed. There have been plenty of times in my career where I have kind of pushed my group a little bit. I've given them perhaps a more difficult assignment to complete, and I knew that it was going to be challenging for them. Right? I knew that I was giving them something that was really, really hard to do. And so I was kind of looking more at the reflection on that work rather than the work itself, right? Because again, the reflection was giving me the data to kind of get them ready for those more difficult tasks that we were moving into. Another important thing, everybody, whenever you're designing your assessment plan and when we're thinking about a balanced assessment approach, we really want to kind of also have assessments that are clarifying the through lines and connecting from bit to bit to bit to bit. We want to make sure that the students understand what they are supposed to do and how they are supposed to do it and why it is that they're doing it, right? And so when we have a formative assessment that looks like the summative assessment, it's a lot easier for students to translate those skills and to translate those understandings and to translate that learning. For example, in an English class, we might have the students start with a formative assessment, which is perhaps doing an outline, and then later on, we're moving into the final summative assessment where we're having the students write an essay. Again, the outline is the plan that kind of sets them up for the next thing. We might have the formative be a smaller version of a longer assessment that they'll do later on. Again, it's really important that if we want the students to be getting that practice, that we kind of have them mirror that structure and have them mirror that process. Another really great element of this, everybody, is coding your assessments and coding your lessons around the learning goals or the skills or the standards that you're working on in the course. Now, of course, don't just maybe throw up that NC standard course of study 11.1, la, 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 la. That might not be helpful for students, right? When I was teaching in an ELA class for a long time, I was very clear with my students about, saying like, hey, this is a reading day. We're focusing on our reading skills today. This is a writing day. We're focusing on our writing skills today. Same thing with assessments. Oh, this is more of a reading assessment, so I'm not really focused on your writing writing skills here. So feel free to answer in bullet points, for example. I'm really just looking to see your reading comprehension. Maybe instead of writing, if that's a barrier to you demonstrating your reading comprehension, let's just talk about it, right? It's just a formative. It's just me checking your understanding, all right? Doing that coding can also really help clarify for students really what it is that they're supposed to do. What are we focusing on here? What am I demonstrating here? And again, I think that that helps students to see the purpose behind what they're doing, and it helps them to also connect the dots between their different learning experiences. So with this, everyone, hopefully I'm giving you some things to think about, some things to process, some things to reflect on as you're sort of maybe wrapping up a first unit and moving into a second unit. This could be a great reflection point to sort of open up your assessment portfolio, maybe try some new things that you haven't tried before, and of course, focus on getting really good data that you're using to impact your instruction and make things better for students in the classroom. Down below, everybody, I've got a few resources all focused on the idea of balanced assessments. The first one is a link from the state of Arizona. It really goes through, it's a PDF document, and it really goes through the different purposes, the different types of balanced assessments, and I think it provides a really good overview of balanced assessment. The next one, everyone, is a blog from our friends at NWEA who make one of our literacy and math assessments here in the county that we don't use in high school, but the middle grades and the elementary grades do use it. And NWEA talks about how to build a balanced assessment system. A lot of us do use diagnostic testing and benchmark testing in our contents, so that might be a really good blog post for some of us to be looking at. And lastly, everybody, I've got a video from Wisconsin, from the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction, that kind of does a really nice overview in about 10 minutes of what balanced assessment is and why we should do it. Lastly, everyone, before I close out this video, I would recommend that if you're approaching balanced assessment or thinking about approaching balanced assessment, do it with your CLT. Do it with a group of teachers who are doing similar work, similar planning, because if we're collaborating on this and the students across the board are getting a similar experience, that's also going to make the work a lot easier and a lot better for us. So anyways, I hope you all have a great week. I hope you've enjoyed this quick video thinking about balanced assessments. And if you're thinking about maybe approaching your assessment strategies a little bit differently, let me know. I'm always happy to come into your classroom, to come into your time and collaborate with you because that's some of the best work that I can do. Have a great week, Dudley High School, and I'll see you in the hallways.